The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hello, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ. And today we have a sad day in Fall River. And a sad day, it's been a sad couple of days in Fall River. We've lost a great woman, the mother of all neighborhoods in Fall River, a great philanthropist, and a wonderful teacher. And we want to dedicate this show today to Cathy Assad. Cathy was a wonderful woman. She got out into the neighborhoods. This particular picture is from when they dedicated the park, the Cathy Assad Park on Quikasham Street. This is with her and her daughter, which many of these pictures are of. This is a picture of her about 3 years ago when the first carnival came to Fall River in the Flint. And Cathy Assad had a craving all the time for candy apples. One of my favorite things, so Cathy and I share candy apples. She even celebrated St. Patrick's Day. And this is one of the last pictures of Cathy with her grandchild. And of course, Cathy was a animal lover. That's with her and her dog. Her dog passed about a month ago prior to Cathy's passing. And again, Cathy was an excellent school teacher in the Durfee High School system. So once again, we want to dedicate this show to Cathy Assad, who is a wonderful woman and a woman I have a great deal of respect for.
Yeah, CJ, your audio is a little low. I don't know if it went out low, but it was kind of low.
I was kind of talking low.
Yeah, but it's still, I don't know. But yeah, Cathy was a great woman, a good example of someone who did what she did for no personal gain.
I have her funeral information. Her funeral will come from the Sylvia Faria Funeral Home on Bedford Street. Visitation is Sunday, 2 to 8 p.m., and the funeral mass will be Monday at 10 a.m. So if you want to go pay your respects to the family and to Cathy, Sunday from 2 in the afternoon till 8 p.m. And I'm sure that her family would greatly appreciate it. She was a wonderful woman and a great asset to Fall River, and Fall River will never replace her in any way.
Yeah.
The Herald News did a very nice article about her, calling her Flint's godmother and remembered as a great citizen. Cathy just always did so much good. I don't think anyone has a bad thing to say about Cathy anywhere. She was always a good friend. I remember at Christmas time, she would always go to the St. Anthony of the Desert Parish on Eastern Avenue, and she'd set up a table, and she would give away to the poor and to people who didn't have money for Christmas gift cards to the supermarkets to make sure that they had food for Christmas. And she even sometimes found toys to give to the children. So, I mean, it's a sad day for Fall River and a sad day for anybody that knew.
It's a sad day. You're right. It's a sad day when people like this pass. It is a great loss. They say no one's irreplaceable, but there's going to be a big void left in the Flint with her passing. Because I said this is a lady that never did anything for her own personal gain. She did it for the community. She did it because she was a good person. So it's sad. You know, and,
it's kind of hard to address, you know, because you think about all the wonderful things she did and how very prevalent and present she was in everything in Fall River. Yeah. And it's kind of hard to think of not having her around anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you know, she's kind of a symbol of something that is being lost in Fall River, or maybe already lost. That's you know, the sense of community. She goes back, I spent a lot of time in her family's restaurant. When I was in high school, we used to have breakfast every morning in that restaurant before we left for school. And you know, I knew her parents and you know, even the grandparents, you know, the original owner of Zeke's. And so it goes back a long way, and it reminds me of a time when, you know, in the Flint, where everybody knew everybody and everybody cared about everybody and everybody left their doors open. You know, and unfortunately those days are gone. But she still kept persevering and trying to make the Flint a better place virtually till the end. So she was a great lady.
And I think her family restaurant you referred to as the Arnolds of your day.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I mean, you know, it was the Arnolds of our day. This is where we all hung out. Everybody in the Flint congregated there, and on Friday nights they were there for fish and chips, and in the morning everybody, virtually half the Flint, went there for breakfast. As I said, we all used to come from our homes and meet at the restaurant, and then we'd all take the bus down to Durfee together. And you know, like I said, it was an era when there was a lot more community, and I think that's something that's sadly missing today in Fall River, and it almost seems like there's a conscious effort to eliminate that with all this, bring in everybody from out of town, market rate housing and stuff. And you know, Cathy was still one that tried to build community within the Flint. You know, regardless of whether you're a new arrival to the Flint or somebody who had lived there their whole life. Cathy tried to bring you in and show you a good place, and I forgot to shut my phone off. God.
It happens.
Okay, that's the end of that ringing. But yeah, it's a great loss for our city.
It is, and you know, my condolences and my heartfelt sympathy to her daughter Natalie and the rest of her family.
Yeah.
I know how tough it is at this point in time. Well, they finally reopened the Stanley Street Fire Station.
Well, nobody's going to get moldy anymore anyway.
It was shuttered temporarily for mold abatement last week. Fire Chief John Lynch confirmed. Lynch was informed the afternoon before Thanksgiving by Christopher Gallagher, Director of the Department of Buildings and Grounds, that a company doing mold remediation in the station's basement was starting the work and the facility had to be cleared. The platform truck is now working out of the North End Fire Station on Commerce Drive, and Engine 12 was relocated to Central Station on Bedford Street. On Tuesday, Lynch said he was waiting for an air quality test to come back to determine if the mold was clear from the building. He got word on Thursday afternoon that crews and equipment could return to the station. Well, that took care of the mold there. Now what about the asbestos in the other buildings?
Well, yeah, we'll deal with that later, right?
Yeah, we'll deal with that later when somebody comes down with mesothelioma or something.
Right.
I don't know. So it's official. Mayor Carrera appointed Jeffrey Little. I think we talked about that already.
Yeah, didn't we? Yeah, we only knew about this like a month ago. So.
And Jeffrey Little is a trained civil engineer. He recently worked as the Director of Water Maintenance for the Water Department, and he begins his new job on Monday, confirmed City Administrator Cathy Assad. So, consequently, he has a lot of experience and is well-versed, and the department has done very well with trench repair.
That's like Ice House God. Okay, that's got a lot. Okay, it's trench repair. You know, I mean, look, this is clearly the after the re-election political moves to get his friends different little pay raises. Because look, John Perry. I mean, nobody had more experience than John Perry. Because he worked in that department for eons. You know, Kenny Pacheco.
Well, interestingly enough,
Kenny Pacheco's right-hand man. Yeah. So now we, you know, I guess nobody in this city has come to the realization that being a department head or being a leader of an organization takes skills in and above being able to get a trench dug.
Yeah, well, he's got a 60-day temporary contract, at which point they will evaluate him, and they may extend that for another 60-day temporary contract. His annual salary will be $82,000 a year.
And after he does such a good job at 60 days, he'll give him a pay raise because he's a friend. Yeah. Okay.
Little first worked for City Hall in 2012 when he was hired as the assistant planner and was previously a planner in Swansea in 2006. DCM has gone through major changes with career, privatizing city trash and separating the former Buildings and Grounds Division to its own department, headed by Christopher Gallagher. Previous to Little being placed as DCM head, the position was held by John Perry, who has returned to his former position, which is still titled as Director of Solid Waste. We don't have solid waste anymore.
Well, come on, CJ. Let's not hold them to the fact that these are fake titles and everything. Look, it's real simple. Obviously, we're having a serious problem maintaining this department. So I guess Kenny Pacheco should have got like $300,000 because he ran a department that was twice the size, because I think they split this, didn't they split this department and give them less work, and now they can't find anybody to run a half a department because they split it, and now they're paying 2 people to do what Kenny Pacheco did for like $90,000 or $100,000. And we said at the beginning when they got rid of Kenny, this is a load of baloney. This is only to give people jobs, and we've gone through, I think we went through the whole bunch of them, and they reiterated in this Herald News article about all the people they've had in this position so far in the last year and a half or so, and it's like it's a never-ending battle. And the only thing this proves is the city doesn't know how to select people to do jobs.
Well, interestingly enough, though, John Perry is going to go back to doing what he does best, snow removal work. But they want to put that back under the responsibility of city workers. So they want to get rid of these contractors. You're not going to do that in one term. And even John Perry said this is not going to happen in this season.
Yeah, we don't have the equipment.
We don't have the equipment.
We got rid of the snow removal equipment, I don't know, about five DPW directors, more than that now with the 5 we've hired in the last year. But we got rid of that eons ago. Remember when we talked about trash removal?
Right.
We talked about how the city got out of the snow removal business with the majority of the snow removal business, and they sold most of their equipment long before we got rid of trash. So, again, remember, as we always say about government, there are no consequences when they screw up. The only consequences are on the taxpayer, because every time they screw up and get rid of something, and then we have to go and fix it again, it's our money. There's no consequences for them.
Nope.
Oh, God, this is going to cost another $1 million. Now we're going to, we may have to buy snow removal. I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows, because it's whichever way the wind blows them. It would be wonderful when you got home and sat in your living room, you could just say, hey, I don't care. I don't care if the rates go up. I don't care if I make the wrong decisions and don't put a roof on my house and it's under. I'll just bulldoze the house and build another house and bill all my neighbors. That's what they do. This is the reason that government is inefficient, and we should have as small a government as possible, because all this is an employment agency for people, and we can see it every day here. Now we've got a mayor of a city that has half the amount of public workers that it had 30 years ago, but he's got a staff like he's the governor or the president, chief of staff, press agents. It's absurd.
Well, what's interesting is, according to the Herald News article, Jen Andrade's position doesn't require city council approval like Jeff Little's position does, because Jeff Little's a department head. Now, chief of staff means she's in charge of the mayor's staff. She's a department head. She's in charge of the mayor's department. She's in charge. So that should require city council approval.
I'm not sure, because there is a classification that is accepted. She's probably, they're going to say she's classified as a confidential employee.
Right.
Because she has privy to all the inside, machinations that the mayor's doing up there. So as a confidential employee, that's got a different, it's completely different.
Yeah, I know.
But that's what they do. That's the political out for these people. You know, if they don't want to share any information about what they're doing for this person, they say, well, they're a confidential employee and we can't divulge anything because it's. You know.
Well, they don't even have contracts yet. The contracts haven't been cut. So I'm waiting to see these contracts because you and I both know they're gonna be funny.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be. They're gonna be good, and I'm sure they'll all have a nice buyout clause.
Of course.
They never ever have a clause for termination for lack of performance.
That's right.
Because when they leave, they get a big balloon check and they get to collect.
That's it. That's it. I mean, we've seen this over and over again. Well, I don't know if the mayor got it served to him by the governor or not, but the governor announced that MassDevelopment took over the operations and management of the Fall River State Pier. Now, this mayor had big plans for this State Pier.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, he put his friends on the pier's board. Now, does that board even exist anymore? I don't know.
Now, granted, if the state's in charge of the.
Right. Now, granted, this announcement came out in April, but they had some critical issues they had to address beforehand. And I received the email, which I have right here.
That's right. Which, by the way, also says it wasn't only Fall River, so they start saying
it's Fall River, it's Fall River and New Bedford.
Yes.
They took over. Okay, but it was announced on November 30th, which was yesterday, that the Baker Polito administration operations and management agreement transferring management of Fall River and New Bedford State Piers from the Department of Conservation and Recreation, otherwise known as DCR, to MassDevelopment. Under the agreement, DCR will retain ownership of the piers, and MassDevelopment will oversee daily operations, implement improvements, and develop a 5-year capital plan for the piers. The Commonwealth States piers are economic hubs supporting local jobs and maritime industries like commercial fishing, shipping, and tourism, said Governor Charlie Baker. This new management approach for Fall River and New Bedford's piers maximizes both MassDevelopment's real estate expertise and DCR's knowledge of state's natural and recreational resources, helping these vital sites reach their full potential.
Yeah, well, good luck with that in Fall River. Obviously, you go to New Bedford, there's a lot of commercial fishing boats still around there. And, you know, I don't know if Moby Dick's still floating around out there in the ocean. But
you know, it's interesting
Moby Dick's
because
grandson.
But you know, it's interesting the way he said this. Their MassDevelopment's real estate expertise, which is obviously lacking a great deal in Fall River, even though that board had real estate people on it.
Yeah. Well,
now, I don't know if that board is still in effect. I don't know if that board is gone. You know, we need to find out more about that. But personally, I think that if MassDevelopment is going to take this over, they need to do away with that entire board because they haven't done anything good for Fall River since they've been in place.
Yeah. Look, that's been a, you know, that's been the
another albatross.
That's been the promise. You know, that's been the promise for how many years? We're going to do this with the waterfront. We're going to do that with the waterfront. We're going to do this with the waterfront. And guess what? The waterfront still looks like a disaster down there. Okay, they got a restaurant down there. You know, the Battleship. You know, it doesn't draw that much tourism. The reality is, who can ever forget the carousel?
Millions of people are going to come for that.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I remember being told that was going to draw 500,000 tourists a year. You know, and I kind of laughed, and I'll never forget Mark Sullivan, who was the head of CFC for so many years. He was on the board of Heritage State Park with me at the time, actually, and he laughed and said, "You're going to tell me we're going to get 500,000 people to stop on our way to the Cape to ride on a wooden horse?" He said, "You're nuts." And you know something, he was right. That carousel never, you know, it was a giant. You know, it's one of the greatest boondoggles ever. That and the HMS Bounty and all the other great things that we're going to see. That's the thing about Fall River. They don't. You know, they just, in order to do anything right, you've got to be objective with the way you look. And politicians always paint this picture like we're a Newton or a Wellesley or we're Cape Cod or something like that. That's why I said, you know, this stuff never works because they're trying to, you need, you know, it's kind of like the mall concept. You need a hook to bring people in. And that hook isn't the wonderful, beautiful waterfront yet. Like I said, we said a long time ago, and they're doing it in a couple of the cities around here. They're building like softball complexes, and I always said we should build a softball complex or a or a soccer complex. We have a great history of soccer, as we said before. We had the best soccer team in the country, and actually one of the best in the world at one time. The Ponta Delgadas actually finished, I think, 4th or 5th in a world championship where they were playing against professional teams, and that was an amateur team. They also won the United States Championship twice. So we have a great heritage, and soccer is an extremely popular sport for young kids. And as I said, I went down to North Carolina to a little hole-in-the-wall city that had a mega softball complex where traveling softball teams from all over the country came to play, and college scouts went down there to scout players, and it's a big sport. I wasn't aware of how big it was until I went down there and to see it. But that complex drew thousands and thousands of people for tournaments throughout the year. And those people had to take hotels and shop and stay in, because those tournaments were at least a week long. You know, this is what could work in Fall River. Not putting a facade on Purchase Street. Yeah, okay, let me see. I can go to Boston to shop, or I can go to Providence to shop. No, let me go to Fall River and walk up and down Purchase Street. It'll take me about 17 steps to get from the bottom to the top. You know, I mean, let's be realistic, and that's the problem. Government isn't realistic. They hold these pie-in-the-sky dreams, and they wave these things like, look, we're going to be like Miami, South Beach. Well, you show me a South Beach here. You know, I mean, Miami's got great tourism, and that's the other half of this equation. Great tourism doesn't mean a great city. Miami has one of the best tourist attractions in the United States, Miami Beach and South Beach. They still got rated the worst city in the country to live in. They make a lot of money. It's still a horrible city to live in.
And the mayor hangs out there.
Yeah, look at Atlantic City. Look what happened to Atlantic City. They made billions of dollars with the casinos. They never reinvested into the community. And if you walked one block off the boardwalk,
it was a crap hole.
You're in a ghetto.
Yep.
I mean, so look, you know, this is what's great about politicians. It's all sound bites and stuff, but they don't look. Let's look at history. How much has this city progressed in the last 20 years?
Not too far.
And it's the same, and if you listen, it's the same crap all the time. You know, market rate housing, this and that, tourism, drop the tax factor for the businesses, and they'll all come running. They've done that numerous times.
And we don't see the businesses running in.
We don't see anybody running.
Unless
we see
they get
a lot of
tiff.
people running out like there's flames coming out of their derriere.
Unless they get a big tiff. If they get a big tiff, they come running in because they don't got to pay anything.
That's right.
And the residential taxpayers got to pay it, which we've been saying all along, but people don't listen to us. And that's okay. I don't mind.
Hey, look.
But I don't want you to complain to me either.
You know, look, the bottom line is you get the government you deserve. You get what you deserve. You know, you get what you deserve. And it's like, okay, if you want to elect people who are going to, the next day, jack up your tax factor, although I did hear that the Flint neighborhood did get quite vocal about that.
Oh, yes, they did.
That tax factor shift.
That was at a public safety hearing, yes.
Yes, so it's good that the people, but that's the problem. The people in this community, and almost in every community, you know, sometimes they're different in some places. You've got highly educated communities like Newton, where you've got 75% of the people have a bachelor's degree or more. Those people, you can't, you know, they're going to go to the meetings, and they're going to make sure things get and people get elected. But for the most part, people need a lot of, you know, you got to rub a lot of salt in their wound before they get upset. And I'll tell you, I think they're beginning to get upset, and they're going to be a lot more upset when all this is done and they get their giant water bill, their giant tax bill, and then they're still trying to, you know, leverage more money out of us and from every conceivable angle. I think you're going to see the beginning of the saturation, and you're going to see the people. They're already a little upset. Wait till they really get all the bills starting to, you know, get dumped on their head.
I'm waiting for that first water bill after the bond gets taken out.
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm waiting for that one. It's going to be like the charter. I didn't know it said this.
That's right.
I didn't know it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be, oh, I didn't know that. Well, you know, guess what?
You should have read it.
That's the way it is.
That's
and
right.
I hear from one of our informants that the mayor was on again today talking about the rail trail and you know, and again blaming the city council vote, and he's right. He's right. But the fact is that there's another way to look at that. He's right. The city council wanted this. Now they don't want it. It's like they don't have the right to change their mind. But I'll remind the mayor that he changed his mind about purple bags.
Not only that, but the mayor sent that easement down. That easement came from the mayor's office.
Oh, I know. But remember, in his mind, even though he wrote it, it's like Shakespeare saying that somebody else wrote his work. You know, it's like he proposes it, but then once they dispose of it, it's their fault.
That's right.
If it's positive, I did it. If it's negative, the city council did it because they voted for it. You know, they're supposed to be the final arbiter. But, I'll remind them that he took a public position for purple bags, said he was in favor of them for a long time until he had to get rid of those purple bags to get reelected. So now he's found the formula. You know, just eliminate something which really you can't eliminate because the money's got to come from somewhere. We all know that. But just do something like this and you'll dupe the public. But after a while, the public, you know, he's building up that reservoir of things that are beginning to aggravate smaller and smaller. Those small segments all put together become a large segment. The recall proved that. The fact is that it wasn't about only, people think the recall was only about purple bags. It was about a lot of things.
That's right.
Going back, all the way back to when the Flanagan said that the stormwater fee was illegal. And everybody who should remember Flanagan's shenanigans, there was a whole litany of things that he did wrong. And that's what happens. People go, oh, well, you know, you got, you know, people seem to be okay with what he's, well, no. People they get irritated with this, and they get irritated. Now they're going to be irritated with the tax rate. They're going to be irritated with their water bills. And ultimately, that's when it hits that's when it hits the fan. And I think it's going to hit the fan fairly, you know, in the next election for sure.
Yeah, if not sooner.
If not sooner, yeah.
Well, I just received notice. Michael Flynn, Trump's ex-national security advisor, has been charged with lying to the FBI in the Mueller's Russia probe. So already they're starting to charge the president's people. So
that's not good.
It's not a good thing at all.
Especially a retired general. You know, I mean, lying to the FBI. You know,
and this is why people are getting upset.
Yeah.
You know, because not only and you know, this is why people forward are getting upset too. Not only are they being lied to by their elected officials, they're being lied to by their appointees.
Yep.
And the appointees perpetuate the lie.
Yeah, and well, that's how they get their appointments, to be yes men.
Exactly, and that's the major problem. We can't run a government where the people don't trust the government that's being run. Now, in a month or two, we're going to be called in to go to the ballot box to approve over $250 million loan order for a high school, which now questions are coming up. They want to take the bells and put them in a 3-story tower. And is that tower going to be able to support the bells? And that's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars more, and the city has to pay for that because MSBA,
No, we have to pay for that.
That's right.
That we have to pay. And let's get that straight because, again, they're going to make everybody, they're never going to discuss what we discussed on our show. The fact that why did this building fall apart in 40 years?
That's right.
You know, why wasn't it built properly? Why should we have to foot this bill again? And again, they're going to make you try to forget. They're going to start waving hey, Durfee, yay, we're all Durfee graduates, and we love Durfee, and we have to have a great school for, well, you know, we're talking about a lot of money, and sometimes you have to wait before you buy a new car because you need a roof on your house or buy even a used car. You know, we have to have, they have no priorities. They just keep spending until they bankrupt us. And that's what we have to remember. Let's not forget that we have to ask questions. And let's not let them, divert our attention by getting us all rah-rah and saying, oh, this is an attack on mom and apple pie if you oppose the school. Because guess what? It's our money, and sometimes I have to wait before I get something because I don't have the money, and that's what the city should do.
Yep. Hey, people, stay angry, and remember, thank you for everything, Cathy Assad.
Yes. Rest in peace.